He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood.
Jimmy Kimmel is a talented guy, and I don't think he's like an evil person or something, but he's made this deal where he just serves power and attacks anybody who challenges power. Like, how can... Honestly, how can he look in the mirror and say, I'm doing something honorable? Like, how can he live with himself? How can his wife live?
So, isn't it a great moment to be alive? Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson have teamed up in a way that no one really expected. In essence, they are like David and Goliath to titans of truth engaged in combat with Jimmy Kimmel's so-called comedy. It all started when popular and widely admired podcast host Joe Rogan decided to expose what he calls Kimmel's contrived comedy act.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs, and then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people, they're like, okay, explain to the people. Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this.
We are talking about a situation where late-night television meets uninspiring humor. Now, imagine Tucker Carlson, who recently departed from Fox News, getting involved in all of this. Carlson took the insults in stride, cutting through the nonsense with his trademark smirk and sharp tirades. What's attracting attention is the fact that Carlson and Rogan, who aren't exactly best friends, have separately found themselves on the same path. They are taking aim at Kimmel's humor, which, let's be honest, may have lost its edge.
If his job wasn't to be a comedian and to do that, but his job is to be he's supposed to be funny, and comedians are supposed to hold people in positions of power accountable.
Suck up
Yeah,
to the people in charge.
Exactly.
He's their Praetorian Guard.
Yeah,
and it's like the self-hatred he must feel, because he wasn't always, that's my point. I mean, Colbert has always been a hard partisan, talented guy, but obviously he's not a comedian. But Kimmel was a comedian. Like, how does he, I don't understand.
I don't know
how he can sleep.
He might buy into the narrative to the extent that he thinks it's morally wrong to joke about these certain topics.
But it's not just that, he's like pouring hot oil on the peasants.
But here's the most telling part. The two didn't have to openly collaborate. They could create a media spectacle simply by focusing their voices on the same goal. Even if Kimmel thought his jokes were untouchable, these two reminded everyone that maybe it's time to reevaluate the current comedy landscape. The focus shifted dramatically when Joe Rogan criticized Jimmy Kimmel for adopting a Hollywood-centric mindset. It felt like we had suddenly switched to watching a behind-the-scenes documentary chronicling the rise and fall of a comedy dynasty. Kimmel, once well known for his witty banter and broad appeal, suddenly found himself under scrutiny. And this didn't happen overnight, it had been building for years. The breaking point came when Carlson and Rogan both made their points loud and clear. First, Rogan laid out his main claim about Kimmel's artificial humor.
I was mistaken about this. It's something I admit I was wrong about, is when early on when we first started getting fact-checked and we first started having these issues with censorship with the Babylon Bee, it was my belief that humor, these were humorless scolds who just didn't think our jokes were funny, and they thought they were offensive and they were being hypersensitive, and that's not the case.
No, it's not. You're going through the stages of realization.
The stages of realization. I eventually learned and came to realize that it's not humor. Humor is a vehicle for truth delivery. They don't like the fact that the narrative is being challenged in a way that's effective, and so they have to shut.
From the way he explains it, Kimmel, who once pushed boundaries, now seems more like he's auditioning to be Hollywood's favorite yes man. Rogan made his case strongly. Many share the view that Kimmel's comedy has become a safe haven for the politically cautious. Think about it, we no longer just laugh at spontaneous, timely jokes. The sanitized style of comedy is taking over. Rogan's criticism isn't just about the jokes. It's about Kimmel performing for the gallery, making sure not to step on any powerful toes, and Rogan isn't alone in noticing this. This is where Tucker Carlson steps in. His critique goes beyond simply saying Kimmel's humor isn't funny. He points out how Kimmel's style has shifted to serve corporate interests rather than offering viewers original, unpredictable entertainment.
The job description of a comedian is not so different from the job description of a journalist, as traditionally constituted. Tell the truth about the powerful. Comedians are usually a lot smarter, more clever, and incisive than journalists, but that's what they're supposed to be doing. Almost none still do. Adam Carolla is one of the very few remaining comedians in the United States. He's out with a new book called Everything Reminds Me.
Carlson doesn't mince words. He shines a light on the bigger issue. Kimmel's comedy is predictable and controversy-free. It's like trying to sell reheated pizza as gourmet. These heavyweights are pulling back the curtain, showing that the aim is no longer to be funny, but to stay friendly and reinforce the narratives Hollywood and the entertainment industry want to promote. And it's not like Kimmel hasn't faced this accusation before.
To obscurity. Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy, right? Like, that's not really a thing.
Remember the early days of Jimmy Kimmel Live, when the show was more candid and irreverent? That spirit resonated with a lot of people, but in recent years, that edge seems to have dulled. It almost feels as though public relations departments review the show before it airs. Rogan and Carlson weren't the only ones to point this out, but they projected it on a much bigger stage, showing everyone how far Kimmel has drifted from genuine comedy. Late-night humor now seems more focused on staying within acceptable limits than delivering a punchline that makes a lasting impression. Kimmel's decline is almost poetic once praised for irreverence, now accused of losing it. Carlson says he's traded edge for conformity, with scripted jokes over planned delivery and little spontaneity. Rogan's and Carlson's critiques broke the spell, making audiences notice. In an era of unfiltered podcasts and uncensored shows, Kimmel feels dated, not just less funny, but disconnected from a culture that prizes authenticity. Ratings prove it. His numbers drop while Rogan's and Carlson's grow. Like a mass-produced print posing as original art, his comedy looks fine from afar, but falls apart up close once edgy, now safe and formulaic.
Famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had to apologize for them, and I think he took that hit and like really doubled down the other direction. But he, now is a guy that goes after people like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Which is, Elon is thought of as being, because he's willing to put people on with uncomfortable opinions, and he's releasing people that were banned from Twitter because of things that they had said. He's like, as long as you haven't done anything illegal.
Viewers are no longer just passive consumers. They give feedback as they watch and seek out voices that match their demand for transparency. In that sense, Jimmy Kimmel has shifted from being a comedian to being a performer following a set script. Rogan and Carlson, on the other hand, have shown that you can keep an audience without constantly pandering for approval. They're not punching tickets on the late-night circuit or relying on cue cards to do the talking. They're speaking honestly and directly to the public. To be fair, Kimmel still has his moments, those rare flashes of the old Jimmy, though they're fading. Perhaps this public criticism from Rogan and Carlson could reignite his original spark. Late-night comedy is shifting because audiences now expect more. Once people experience something raw and real, it's hard to return to scripted, safe humor. This could be the end of an era for Kimmel or the start of a new one. It's no longer just about Rogan or Carlson, but about viewers craving substance over polish. Safe, bland comedy is fading, and late-night shows must adapt or risk becoming irrelevant. The real question is, how many are challenging the status quo, and how many are just recycling the same jokes? The industry must evolve to match changing tastes. Has comedy gone too far, or is there hope for a return to genuine expression?